I do realize that I'm what's standing between you and pizza and refreshments, and I have the not so enviable task of trying to share some of the reflections of what we've heard throughout the day. But I'll give it a try. We started the day hearing about the impact of food inflation and macroeconomic stability on markets and societies and companies. And that these changes, they're real, they're on the ground, they're not just theoretical headlines, and that in many of our markets, we are indeed facing a roller coaster. But we also heard from William and Nana and Pindi about the opportunities that we have to make a difference, working across the value chain, in particular in logistics, in storage, and importantly also working with partners. Now, we heard from Olaug and Tellef that our mandate as Norfund is challenging, but ever more important. 2022 showed that we are indeed delivering, but it also shows that the trends on poverty, on energy, on climate, they mean that we need to step up. So there's a lot to be done. We talked about high development and high emitting industries, and is that an exercise in squaring the circle? Now, CBI, they are doing a different mode of producing cement, but it's challenging, and is it enough? It's green, but can you convince customers that it's high quality? And then can a cement producer ignite a spirit of environmental consciousness? At least that's the ambition for CBI. We heard from Hela that they are an empathy-led, local context-conscious company. They're not copy-pasting unsustainable models from other markets, but really thinking about the local context. And Dilanka told us not to go where things are ready to go, but rather where you can make a real difference. And as he said, what's the point of having a complete international solution when you can find and develop talent locally? And they both, I think, echoed the point of thinking not just about individual companies or products in isolation, but really working across the value chain with partners in an ecosystem. Anja challenged us from Future in Our Hands that textile in particular perhaps is fraught with challenges. Water, chemicals, workers' rights, fast fashion. And is there really such a thing as sustainable fashion? And then we heard from Ellen that it's really about how you select your partners, how you drive change, not about finding perfect companies, but knowing also where to draw the line. We heard from Dilanka again on the importance of increasing the longevity of clothes. But is that enough to really solve the fast fashion challenge? And we need to remember that we can't invest in we need to invest in tomorrow's business models, not yesterday's. And we need players like Anja and NGOs to be our voice of conscience and to keep us honest. Fragile states are also volatile and unpredictable. Ethiopia going from double-digit growth to war. And then in Tanzania and CRDB, as Judy said, investing in Tanzania would have been the easy choice, but we're not in it for easy choices, even when we had to transfer money before even getting a banking license. And as she said, when it rains, Norfund provides the umbrella. And fragility and regulatory changes, they make things unpredictable. But then we heard from Saad that what you need then is a clear vision and a clear ambition, but you need tactics that change depending on the circumstances. And it's not just about where we invest, but it's also about how we engage as an owner and what kind of changes we drive. We also heard from Judy that if it was a perfect market or a perfect company, then Norfund wouldn't invest. And Bernd concluded, it's a different type of investor perhaps. Patience, getting your hands dirty, and showing tenacity. Now, turning to renewable energy, we looked at staggering numbers on the growth that's needed in the capacity for new renewables, but also in the investments that are needed. Some, especially perhaps Sandy and Vivek, were bullish. The government is enabling, there's a change of narrative and the demand is there, but the supply constraints are also there. And Terje perhaps providing a bit more of a sobering perspective, saying price levels are tight. We also then heard, I think from the entire panel, that Norfund should keep being a frontrunner in this space in India and help drive that change. So our politicians, I think we can say that we're grateful for the trust and support that you all showed, but also that we're expected to step up and do more. Other institutions also perhaps need to change. The MDBs, maybe the oil fund, but maybe it's more difficult to move the needle and more difficult to get changes going there. And there was a pretty unanimous conclusion that we need to make sure that we do more of what we know works and that we avoid the temptation of doing new things simply for the case of doing something new. So, Norfund is delivering in challenging and uncertain times, and it's ever more important. Renewables in India being a very important case in point, where the gaps on capital and capacity are clear. We need to invest in clean solutions in challenging industries, but it's also really difficult. And what does that really mean? What is a truly sustainable business model? We want to keep being challenged, the NGOs being a voice of conscience. And in uncertain times and in fragile conditions in particular, we need to make sure that we and our portfolio companies have a clear mission, but that we change our tactics and we adopt and adjust. We need to do more of what we know works, because time is of the essence. And we need to do that in the ecosystem, across the value chain, with different partners, both in business, in politics, and in the NGO community. And the expectations to us, I think, are high. So it's a good thing that we're all here together, and that you're here, and that you will help us deliver on those goals going forward. So with that, I'd like to give a particular thanks to our fantastic moderators, Elida and Donald. Please join me in giving them a hand.